I'd like to discuss the next lab for this semester, and I have logged into the eScience Labs webpage, and I want to look at my lab kit. This is the one we're using for this course, and here is the table of contents. The lab I'm going to talk about today is Chemical Bonding Fundamentals. This is the title for your lab, and this is Lab 2. So the title of your lab should say something like Lab 2, Chemical Bonding Fundamentals. Now let's take a look at this lab. As usual, give the lab a few seconds to download. And it looks like this one is almost ready to go. And go all the way to the top. And all of these labs, again, here's the same table of contents. I've called this Lab 2, Chemical Bonding Fundamentals. I know you don't see anywhere on here Lab 2, but disregard that. In our semester, this is going to be Lab 2. And the title is Chemical Bonding Fundamentals. And so you can see that much of this is already covered in your reading from your textbook. But there are also numerous interactive learning, what I call learning objects, that you can look at. Some are superior to the images you see in your textbook. For example, the structure of an atom showing all of these different electron shells. And you can do a good bit of reading about this. Explanation of the periodic table and what atomic symbols are and atomic numbers and so forth. Again, you've already covered this. Here's the periodic table. And it's interactive, showing all of these different elements. This is really quite amazing. This is the benefit of having eScience labs. There are lots of learning objects included in this lab, more than just the test tubes and chemicals you have. So, as in all of these labs, and this gets pretty sophisticated in terms of chemistry. Water. And I'm not going to go through this in detail. This is meant for you to spend your time on, since this is an online lab. Now, what is the actual experiment that you're going to do? Finally, for all of these labs, you'll read at your leisure the supplemental material that precedes the actual lab, and then at the end of the lab you'll find the actual labs themselves. This particular lab has a pre-lab assessment. This is what you're going to, this is not required, but I encourage you to look at all of these areas. The more time you spend with this, the more you'll learn. This is not required. This is view the experiment. 1. Some of these labs will have more than one experiment. This one actually is broken down into a couple of areas. Let's view the experiment. And you already know, let's think about the lab report. You know what the title is, Chemical Bonding Fundamentals. Introduction. Don't copy and paste anything. Get ideas about your introduction from the lab. Don't copy and paste what you see here. Materials. In a list form is not acceptable. You should include your materials in sentences. At this point, I don't want lists, tables, graphs. Just sentences. Now, you do not need to say popsicle stick or newspaper, but certainly the chemicals that you use are important. Chemicals. Materials, methods, and read again the how to write a lab report. And so you will not say in materials and methods, you will not say weigh out 0.5 grams of guar gum. You will say guar gum was used to make a solution or whatever you do with it. Same with borax and so forth. Part 1, Part 2, follow these directions, summarize them as best you can in materials and methods. Remember, that's one section, materials and methods. And then have a piece of paper and a pencil and write the notes about what it is you're seeing here. Put that in results. And then in discussion, describe overall what you've done and what is the value of what you've done. I know that this may be confusing at first, especially when it comes to the discussion. Materials and methods and discussion sections are usually problematic for students. Make sure you discuss your concerns, questions, comments in discussion board. That's why we have it. I hope this helps. All during the previous presentation, I've been looking at this title here, Lab 3, Chemical Bonding Fundamentals. Please don't get confused. The title that I've chosen as Lab 2 is because it's the second lab this semester. That is the procedure that I'm going to follow for the rest of the semester. We have 12 labs. You've done Lab 1. This is Lab 2, regardless of what it says on the caption here. The title that's important is Chemical Bonding Fundamentals. If you have questions, let me know in discussion board.